Well, I'm talking about Jesus is King. And that's our Lord. Oh, oh, but you gotta know, I know, yes, I know who's I'm looking to. I know that, And I know, yes, I know that who's omnipresent. Happy Monday, everybody. My name is Katie Lowe, and I'd like to welcome you to Ribbon Flow Radio Livestream right here on Meta Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. And today we have a special show lined up for you. Tomorrow, April 4th, will be 55 years celebrating the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. So we're going to welcome you to Opinions on Monday at 7 p.m. And we're also going to talk about Johnathan Majors. But before we get into the meat of the show, let me bring in Raymond Richards, author, activist Raymond Richards, and Professor Don Kincaide. Raymond will lead us in prayer. We're going to talk about what we did for the weekend, and then we're going to get right into the meat of the show. And who knows, we might even talk about what's going on here in Chicago. Hold on. Hey, Brother Raymond.
Hey, Kitty Lowe. Hey, Kitty Lowe. Hey, Kitty Lowe.
Let me bring in the professor. Hey, Professor.
Good evening. How are you?
All right. So,
What's going
Raymond,
on,
why don't...
Hey, what's going on, my brother?
Okay. Raymond, why don't you lead us in prayer? Then we'll find out what happened or what everybody did over the weekend. And then we can get right into the meat of the show and talk about 55 years after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I do have 2 video clips that I will play. Okay? Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you, magnifying you, glorifying you, for allowing us to live to see another day, Lord. We thank you for making sure that our steps are ordered and they're kept in your perfect preference. Lord, we ask that you continue to keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger. Guide us, clear our minds. We ask that you forgive us anything we did that's ungodly to you. We pray all these things in your mighty, magnificent Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So everybody introduce yourself and tell us what you did over the weekend.
Go ahead, Professor.
Well, my name's Donald Kincaide with High Care Universal Charities and Kincaide and Associates. The weekend for me was very busy. We've been working on some casework, and of course, we're doing our financial services thing with all the income taxes, and everybody want their money, their government money, they call it back in 2 days. But anyway, we had a very, very busy weekend, and have been very successful in making contact with individuals on several projects that we've been working on.
So Kincaid and Associates, how can they reach you?
So we have contact numbers. My number is 312-860-4099.
Okay. Brother Raymond?
This weekend was interesting, to say the least. I met with a brother who has been exonerated and who I look forward to be working with. I also helped a few young brothers with their backgrounds and things of that nature. We're talking about passing some bills in Illinois as well as here in Texas to help the movement for the returning citizens. And I sat back and I relaxed my mind, body, and soul.
All right.
Oh, I had to before I get into it. No, Kidlo, you ain't gonna get me like that. Don't give me the script. Shout out to Katie Lowe, Tiffany, and BST Inc. for a phenomenal event, seniors event Friday they put on. And man, when I tell you, I don't know if Katie put the pictures out there, but she should be showing you guys the
I
pictures.
haven't put them out there yet.
They was excited. They was, oh man, the video was just off the chain. It warmed my heart to see that our seniors to know that somebody cares about them. So I look forward to it. Thank you, Katie Lowe. Thank you, Tiffany. Man, I look forward to doing it again. I'm excited, man. And y'all just don't know, y'all just warm my heart with them. Ooh, thank you, Jesus. And that made my weekend. That's what made my weekend.
Well,
The birthday.
I say thank you to the Senior Satellite Center over here in the 29th Ward, and a great shout out to Cynthia Arrington, who is a senior coordinator, who allows me to be a part of the senior activities. Okay, and they have quite a few senior activities, but the senior paint party is a very nice activity, and the senior ladies and men that be at that paint party have welcomed me wholeheartedly. So since it was Women's History Month, I wanted to do something special. And I often take gifts, but this time I took some very special gifts. And those gifts were uh, uh, they were products for hygiene, but for facial cleansing products and moisturizers. And those products were sponsored by Brothers Standing Together. And I also got to give a shout out to Joe's Barbecue and Fish Market, who furnished the food. A shout out to My Soul, My Blackness, who furnished food. And a shout out to Evelyn Arrington for MacArthur's Restaurant, who furnished food. And a shout out to my friends at Oval Cleaning, who's sponsoring the show today, but who also furnished food, who helped make that event, I mean, something different. Because usually they have their own food, but it was Women's History Month. And we just wanted to do something different. And just doing that one event, I found out that there were some businesses in the 29th Ward that I could call on at least 4 times a year. And they would actually just, all I got to do is ask them, tell them what I want, and they will be there for me. So I know that I have about 4 businesses in this ward that 4 times a year that I can call on them to do things for those seniors over there at 5170 West Congress at the Austin Satellite Senior Center, and they will accommodate me. So
Yeah, yeah.
it, it was a great event, and I was in a lot of pain, but I had a ball. And a shout out to Cynthia, a shout out to Tiffany, and a shout out to Tommy, who were there to help me, uh, with the event. A good, we had a ball. Okay, let me say hello to Mike Smith. Hello to Georgia Lee Adams. It's been a minute, but they are all streaming with us today. So I want to give a shout out to them and say hello. And thank you all for joining the live stream. Okay.
Right before we get into it, I just want a special shout out. Happy birthday to my big sister, LaDonna. Love you.
All right. Happy birthday, LaDonna.
Take this off. I can't even breathe. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, I also like to do a little shout out to our advocates over in Detroit, Michigan tonight. They'll be kind of on the show with us. My nephew just got clemency and he's been released there, and we've been instrumental in the part of getting that. I have him in contact with Brother Raymond. We'll be doing some things with them in the future in reference to Streamline and some broadcast work on podcasts. But I wanted to make sure I said that. And Katie, we also want to recognize all of the efforts that you make to advocate with so many organizations that are already working. I don't know why Bobby Rush and them haven't come up with a community advocate, just a certificate or award or something. It wouldn't take that much for them to do that.
Well, Bobby
But
Rush is they're over in another area of the town. I'm on the west side. They on the
no,
south
it
side.
doesn't. It
I'm on the
doesn't matter
listen.
what I'm
I'm on
saying.
the west side of town. There is. It ain't get no better than the west
No, I mean, no, it's not. It's not that. It's what we're talking about right now. They all ought to be coming together all the way across to Chicago, no matter what side of the town they're on, and doing things that for people who go beyond the call of duty to get things done, because we're actually doing their jobs when we go out in the community and work on their behalf.
You know what? Long as the seniors love me, that's all that matters. You know,
Well,
when
we'll
I
work on that, Pastor Kincaid. Don't worry about
it don't matter. Long as they reach out to me and they love me and they show me that they love me, that's all that matters.
it.
You
Okay.
know, because I
All
got
No,
somebody that loves me.
I'm not angry about it. I just
Hey,
brought it up as a point
thank
of
you,
reference
Joe.
because we
Thank
do
you
take
for
we
Rose.
seem to take people working on our behalf for granted. And Raymond, you know that very well. We get out
Yes.
and work our butts off,
Yes.
and a piece of paper is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything to put it in a computer and let the ink generate a few words on that paper.
That's
We're
it.
not asking them to send a whole lot of money or
No, we're
nothing
not.
like that. But so what
Thank
we'll
you for
actually
the Rose,
do
Don. Thank
is,
you.
is once they start getting out doing what they're supposed to do, they waste money on different programs trying to get people in doing stuff that don't have anything to do with this city. Just like our president is funding Ukraine and all the roads and bridges and stuff over here torn up. That makes a difference.
Okay, well, listen, let's don't get out. Let's don't get too far now. But Don, I thank you for the roses. I received them, okay? Now
Yes.
listen,
All
t-
right, you straight.
tomorrow, let me say this. Tomorrow is April the 4th,
Mm-hmm.
and that is election day here in Chicago.
Yes.
And they've already said, the weatherman has already said that the weather may be bad tomorrow. So I hope that everybody got out and voted today. But not only is tomorrow, April 4th, election day here in Chicago, tomorrow is a symbolic day.
Yes.
Tomorrow is the 55th anniversary.
Someone is protected at your back door.
Oh, my, did you all hear that? Okay. Tomorrow is the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And listen, I must play, before we get off into the meat of this show, allow me to play this. It's just a portion of the speech. If you haven't listened to the whole speech, you need to go to YouTube and pull up that whole speech before he made these comments. And let me play this few minutes of the speech, and then we're gonna get off into the meat of the show, and we're gonna talk about his last speech before he was assassinated. Here we go.
This is a CBS News special report.
Dan Rather reporting for CBS News from New York. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was shot to death by an assassin late today as he stood on a balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King had planned to lead another civil rights march in Memphis next Monday. We got the latest on the story now from Russ Hodge, news director of WREC.
Oh, what is my volume? Oh no. Hold on. Let me try it again. I didn't have this problem earlier. Try one more time.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Okay, that was his speech before he was assassinated 55 years ago tomorrow.
Yes.
Have we made any progress? Have we gone backwards? What has happened in the last 55 years?
I think basically what has happened in the last 55 years is we made significant progress in terms of getting some things in the public eye. We made more progress in that area than anything else because now you can't go around and say we don't know and we haven't been informed because people have a way of accessing information within a matter of seconds after it happens in this country right now. Used to take a while for it to hit the news services or get on NBC, ABC, or CBS or whatever. But now we have people with cameras in their telephones that are able to get out on the street and film what's going on and spread that information in a matter of seconds. That's one of the biggest advances that we've made. As far as what has gone on with racism and systemic racism in the country, we still are at a stalemate with that because people are deeply embedded in what they believe, in what's right for them. And when they say the American people, when I hear the candidates stand up now and talk about the American people this and the American people that, my question in my mind is who are they referring to? Who are the American people? Are we all American people and invested with the rights under the Constitution? Or are they talking about a particular group of people that have those rights when other people don't have them? And I think that's what Dr. King was talking about when he mentioned that, because he went all over this country and experienced racism in every region. You would think that a country that's based on freedom, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, freedom to keep and bear arms, and freedom would have at least one place, one city where everybody believes in that inherent freedom for everybody. And America is still not there yet, as we all know. So we, as a people, no, I'm answering your question. We haven't gone backward because we are dealing with people who came here with the intent purpose of taking what they want, enforcing their will on other people through might, and therefore they have come and gone to every country they've gone to and done the same thing. They have no intention of giving up the stronghold they have in that area.
Amen. Well, um, to that question, have we gained any further? I like to believe that we have, and in fact, I address, one of my favorites. I've listened to him a great deal, um, and my favorite speech, but if not, and he said, and I quote this. He says, "Be it known unto thee, O King, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set upon us." In other words, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are pretty sure that God will reward them and the affirmative fire for rejecting this false idol. So when we talk about the progress that's been made in society, it goes back even before King. You know, King was a trailblazer who 55 years later is still relevant today as he was in 1968, when the time of his assassination. Because he was a man who was a God-fearing man who didn't fear anything or anybody. And he went around the country preaching nonviolence. Now, so many people get caught up with he preaching nonviolence and Malcolm preaching by any means necessary and things of that nature. But what we have to remember is he was called upon to do this. Because if anybody remembers when it first kicked off, Dr. King said no. They said, "We want you to lead." He said, "No." He said, "No, I ain't. No." And then it was when he went home and laid down and prayed and meditated, and then God put it on his heart. Then he changed. He had a change of heart in order to lead it, because he wasn't even going to do it at first. So that's how we know that he was anointed and appointed that by God. So when he did this movement, a lot of people was like, "Well, what is he going to do here? What is he going to do there?" All he's talking about is nonviolence, because he was showing us that our minds are more powerful than bullets, than any type of uh, weaponry that can be forced upon us. We got the dogs, we got the water hose, we got all that stuff. We got beat with the billy clubs and all that. And neither mind, we have to understand that this is a man of God. So he felt the same pains as God felt. When he was marching and had his people going through that, these people are getting slaughtered. They're not just getting hit and they're getting slaughtered. Some are even losing their lives for what they stood up and believed in. And we have to understand that this is what he fought for: freedom, justice, and equality for all mankind. And it wasn't just, see, people talk about it's just black. No, so all mankind, because if everybody had freedom, peace, and equality, then there wouldn't be no argument. There wasn't no need for Vietnam. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't until Dr. King himself went in and prayed and meditate, then he realized, and he said it himself, that maybe, just maybe, one day we will be free.
but this is 2023.
Uh-huh.
We are still getting beat.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah.
we we're getting killed.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and
Yeah.
it's being justified.
Yeah.
We still got the house niggas.
Yeah. You got the
We
yeah.
still got we still and the sad thing, we have black leaders, house niggas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Because with the Willie
I
Lynch,
mean these wait a minute, these are black leaders that you have looked up to and in the past have respected, and they round here saying yes or massa.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you got what what I
They
see as
showing themselves.
yeah, what I see is people we call people something that they don't necessarily have to earn. You have to watch what people do to find out if if they earn the titles that you give them. That's why I told you when we first came on together. You asked me about what I wanted people to call me. I told you just let them call me Donald Kincaide. But I don't want to
Okay,
earn. I want to earn whatever people call me. I want them to respect me for being what they call me then later. But because God is the one that brought me forward, He gives me the ability to do what I do. And so when it comes down to these leaders you're talking about, that's what I'm trying to get
yes
at.
I am, and listen.
These black image leaders,
Wait a
you
minute.
have
Let me tell you
you
this.
got
Wait
some
a minute.
leaders and you got some sellouts. And you
Okay.
can't
Let me
call the
say.
sellouts leaders because they're gonna get bought out every time the money
Okay.
comes
You
to the
can
table.
let me finish my statement, and then you can say what you got to
Okay.
say. I mean, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen this before. Okay. But I'm seeing it right now. Okay.
Of course.
Before my eyes again.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong with us. When are we going to learn to bond? When are we going to learn to do that?
We
But
have a
What's
you
wrong?
know
What's wrong with us?
okay, we still have a tribalistic differentiation that causes hate and discord among us as a people of color. We came from a country. We call it Africa, but it's a lot of different countries. It's different countries. It's not little different counties like we have. Different countries with different languages that were at war with each other. And colonialism came over and took advantage of that. They found out what the differences were, and they always do that very well. They waited. The only reason the Martin Luther King's movement was as effective as it was is because they couldn't infiltrate it and put peg on it to where the government would take steps to do away with it like they did the Black Panthers. They infiltrated the Black Panthers and had people going in the organization to find out about it. The Panthers had a good program. And so we're not going to get on that, but they had a good program for black people. And King's movement had a good program for black people. But when they found out what the end result was going to be for businesses and people who had money here. It wasn't all about whether we could sit down and eat hamburgers in Burger King at the same table with them. It's never been about that. It's been about control. They don't want the resources to ever be equal among us. Your bank account never is supposed to be what Daly's account is in Chicago. It's never supposed to be equal at because they don't see fit in this system for that to ever happen because of your color in mind. And so that's what the problem is. And so we get it branded back on us about we're not getting together and we're causing our own problems and stuff. We're only 14% of the United States
Wait a
population.
minute. We
So
might be 14% of the United States population, but let me show you something. Let me show you something that's happening right now before our eyes. Out of all the things that Donald Trump did while he was in office, they are sticking together.
Of course.
They have, listen, out of all the things that Donald Trump did while he was in office that were wrong, that were crooked, that were underhanded, they are sticking together. They like crazy glue.
Yeah, but
They
that's
sticking.
when you
They
when you
stick. Huh?
when you ask that question, sister, you know, that's the whole thing. There's no unity. You know, we're not unified. We're not a unified front. And our professor said the tribal now with the tribal acts and us being taken, brought here, our ancestors brought here from to a strange land.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened. The Willie Lynch syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Jasmine. The crab in the barrel syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and the spook who sat by the door, right?
Okay.
So what we have to understand is the Willie Lynch syndrome was presented to the Europeans by a black man. Let's get
Absolutely.
that out the way. By a black man, put the Willie Lynch syndrome out there, right? Now, the spook who sat by the door, the crab in the barrel syndrome. The crab in the barrel syndrome was reversed. They used reverse psychology on the crab in the barrel syndrome because the crab in the barrel syndrome was merely for the crab to reach out and connect with another crab, and that them crabs crawl up. Everybody comes out to the last crab is out of the barrel, and then they all pulled him out. That's the syndrome. Now, with the spook,
Yeah. Let me wait. Don't take me back there.
no, I'm just
Don't
saying.
take
But now I got to because I got to get
Don't
to
take me
bring it
there.
up to speed. So
I
now,
tell you what. I tell you what you tell me. I tell you what you tell me.
tell
I'm
me.
here in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
You tell me,
Well,
and I'm gonna call their names, and I don't give a
Go ahead.
cuss. Okay?
Go
Cut
ahead.
my tongue and sew up my big mouth.
Okay, then.
You tell me, why do I see a man like Jesse White, who African Americans look up to? You tell me why I see a man like Bobby Rush, who people look up to. Now, I ain't gonna ask you about some of the rest of them because I don't look up to them. Okay? I ain't
Uh-huh.
got no respect for some of them. But
Right.
those two I do. You
Okay.
tell me why they done lined up behind Paul Dallas.
okay, well, that's why I called Bobby Rachel's name a few minutes ago.
I'm like, what's that boy's name? Maze Jackson. What's in it for the damn black man? You tell
Okay.
me.
You see, it's not about that, Katie. I mean, I think
It's
what we're
gotta
doing,
be. It's got to be.
we're sitting here doing the same thing they've been doing to us all the time, putting the blame back on the 14% when it's the 86 other part that's the controlling the reins. See, Jesse White doesn't have an election to run for anymore, so
It
he
doesn't
ain't
matter
letting
whether
it
he have an election or not.
It's the machine.
Jesse White
go.
has a
Hold
voice.
up. He's in the chain. He's in the machine already.
It's a machine.
And so you're not giving credit to the way the machine was set up to operate. And we can sit here and argue about it all night, but it ain't gonna
Okay,
change the
but
outcome of the
listen,
machine.
that's what I'm trying to understand.
And this is
Okay,
what we
let me
Why
explain
are these people lining up with the machine? The machine has got everything messed up.
The machine
Get under
bought them. No, the machine bought them out a long time ago. The machine bought Willie Wilson out a long time ago, whether we give him credit for it or not.
Oh, I know why Willie Wilson is lined up with
You know,
Paul
Raymond and I spoke up for Willie Wilson because somebody came up and said he wasn't speaking clear and he didn't need to be the mayor. And so we were in his.
I know why Willie Wilson is over there with Paul Dallas. I know why he there.
What?
Well, it's all got to do with the same thing. So that should be an answer to your question if you
that's
know
the
that.
machine. Okay.
The machine.
When Mr. White was Secretary of State,
Yes.
you have to remember he was third in command.
He was what?
Third in command.
I heard that. Right, he was. Yes, he was.
And then he was a valor, a scholar and a valor.
Right. Yes, he was.
So, with that being said, anybody would run quick to line up with him, right? And if he said,
Absolutely.
If he said go on the right side of the street, then you're gonna go on the right side of the street. And they think that they knew the power. See, they know who holds the power. It's not a secret.
Absolutely.
It's not a secret. They know who holds the power, whether
And he
you're in
holds a lot of
office,
power.
if you're in office or not, because a lot of people hold power is not even in office.
We voted everyone in that.
It's sold
We
out.
voted everyone in that sold
Sold
us
us
out.
out.
You doggone right, Jasmine Smith.
But see,
You are
but what we
absolutely
have
right.
to think about is
Yes.
democratic machine. See, the thing about, and it's so simple, complex with that, because the democratic machine, we already know what we're gonna get from the democratic machine. But what you don't know is what you're gonna get from that Republican machine.
Oh, hell yes, you do.
See,
No,
you
no,
don't.
you do
you
not.
don't.
You
Oh,
don't.
yes, you do.
No.
No,
We
you
think
do
we
not.
do. Why do
No.
you think Dr. Martin Luther King went and what's the president
If
Brett
you
with
wait a
Johnson?
minute, wait just a minute. You don't know what you're gonna get from the Republicans,
Now, you know,
No.
and wait a
No.
minute, and they
No.
already.
no.
No.
I'm gonna let y'all talk about this.
No.
Because
Because let me say.
no, wait. Let me say this, and I'm gonna let y'all talk. I'll be back when you get ready to talk about Johnathan Major. Because if you don't know about critical race theory and all these laws they passing down south in Mississippi, okay, and everywhere else, okay, I'm through with it. I'm gone. Bye.
But see, what you have to understand is this. We already know they racist. We already know they don't like us. But you don't know about the hidden agendas that these Republicans have. You know what you're going to get from the Democratic machine. It's already out because their hand has already been played. It's the Republicans' hands that's being hiding, and they'll tell you stuff like, well, we don't want you to sit up and be on aid. We want you to find a job. We want to help you find a job. Well, if they were trying to help find a job, then we wouldn't have to go through all this stuff we went through when we was incarcerated. Why we homeless? If you don't want to see us be homeless, you don't want to see us on aid, why we're homeless, why we're uneducated, and why we're underemployed. So this is the things that people don't understand about that, but we know what we're gonna get like tomorrow. You know, we know what we're gonna get tomorrow. If they don't come out and vote, Paul Valler's gonna be the next mayor of Chicago. That's without a shadow of a doubt. But here again, as we were talking about, Professor, because I can call you Professor, because I know what your credentials is, and I did my research, so I can do that. So Professor,
Right.
Professor,
No, I ain't got no problem with you, right? You know,
the whole thing is this. These people, just like they did to our ancestors, all they come to do is kill, steal, and destroy. We know. I'm saying, but you know, when she's saying I think she might get it confused. Like, we don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know what their agenda is because their hand is always hid. Their hand is hid. The Democrat hand is always out there. Come with me and I'll set you free. And we ride, we go because we know. Just like any aldermen in each ward. Now you know your alderman in your ward, right, Professor? And
Yes.
you've been watching it for a long time, and you can pinpoint what he or she gonna do and what they not gonna do. Exactly.
Okay, Raymond, let me put this in right here and quite simply put it. Katie is dismayed because of value expectations that are unrealized. They're unrealistic value expectations. We expect more than we're going to get. The country is not going to guarantee what they talk about. They're not guaranteeing what's written in the Constitution. And so when the Republicans and Democrats, they're just smoke screens out there, right? Because all of them got the same values. They all run by white folks. It's all of the white folks, by the white folks, and for the white folks. If we put it the way it runs in this country. Because if you look at it, that's the way it goes. But we don't want to say that. We want to say, because of all the struggles we've been through, because of the leaders that we've had. I'm in the state where Medgar Evers was. He got killed. And we can go on and on and on.
Exactly.
That's where Emmett Till got killed at.
Yes.
So a lot of blood has been shed by our people. And what it really do is we should be further along. But we keep blaming our people for the advances that need to be made on the part of the people as a whole. This country is not run or controlled by black people.
Well,
Jesse
it's not.
White,
It's not.
Jesse
And
White
so
got to be part of the machine. They voted him in. They voted him in. He wasn't a threat to nobody, and he got buildings and programs in his name. That's how they reward people who come to the machine and do what the machine wants to do. So that's
and,
why he's loyal to the machine now. He's not
and,
gonna go against the machine now that he's out of office. He's gonna follow along the precepts of the machine. Only brother that I ever had respect for in that area that was they tried to get in the machine, and he refused to after it got to the point where it was just totally ridiculous. Was Colin Powell. Colin Powell stood up against the machine and said, I'm not part of that anymore. I'm not gonna do what y'all trying to push me into doing. I'm not I've already served you loyally in the military and in other parts of my life, but I'm not gonna sit up there and let you dictate to me that I gotta go against my principles as a black person. And he
right.
stepped out of it. And
And
so
that's
I
the thing.
I give
And,
him I take my hat off to him because he did stand up. But there are very few people who stand up, Raymond. They don't have no stand up in them. When the money winds up getting laced into them, they are controlled, very much so controlled. So what we got to do is that we have to decide as a group how much pressure we can form in this country and put on them to do what's right who are in the majority. Because every time they have an election, one or the other of those two parties is going to wind up being the one that wins. Not the
either way it
independent.
goes. So it's a no lose situation for them. It's a win-win for them. And
No,
what the people
that's
don't see,
correct.
the people
And
don't
so
see that,
whoever
but
we,
you know,
but they need our vote to win because if we
exactly. And
vote,
so this is the thing I was getting at because I hear what you're saying, Jasmine. Jasmine said when Democrats had the House, they lied time and time after telling us that they're working on the laws we asked to be passed, prolonged and purposely, and why. I'll tell you why. But what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying right now is when we're talking about, we're going to a historical man, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When he went and told Lyndon Johnson, because that was the president, right, Lyndon Johnson, and he told him, if you don't pass these laws, then me and my people gonna shut this country down. We gonna shut it down. And they knew, and Lyndon Johnson knew that Dr. Martin Luther King was not playing. See, people don't know about his gangster side, his radical side. They only know about how he preached. They don't know how he went in there and he demanded these things. That's how we got them things. Now let's just keep it real. That's how we got a lot of stuff. Because he said, I'm gonna show you scientifically how we can be more effective with the little that we got. And it was simple stuff like not getting on the bus, the boycott. Don't go buy their food. Don't go to not go to their schools. The integration, see, people thought he just wanted to sit with the white folks. That's what I hear a lot of people saying. No, he didn't. He just wanted equality. That's all he wanted was equality. And then she talking about today. Okay, now you look at today. Bobby Rush, Jesse White, they're part of the machine. And so with that being said, that's what they came up on. That's what they do. I don't agree with it. Me and Mr. White, before we respected each other, we had a big falling out in the Chicago Sun-Times. Anybody can go back and look at it. When young brother Tim was killed, we had a difference of opinions because I work for the people. I don't work for no machine. I'm not about no machine. But what I'm saying to you is this. This is how it's been formed and been propagated, and the propaganda that's been sent to us. And this is why they have these people, like you said, Katie Lowe in the beginning, field nigga, house nigga. It ain't gonna never change.
Hey, let me say this. You brought up Lyndon Baines Johnson. He passed the Civil Rights Act, but he only passed that Civil Rights Act after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I'm gone.
But you got to understand why
I want
he
you
did
to
that.
know that. I want you to know that Martin Luther King was not assassinated to 1968. That
Exactly.
civil rights, wait a minute, the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964 after the
Exactly.
assassination of John F. Kennedy.
No. See, that's what y'all don't know. It was Dr.
When was
Martin
it
Luther
passed?
King who went in there and threatened him and told him that's why the Pope man, the movement and the boycott, all that was set up because it was
On
strategized.
July the 2nd of 1964, President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Bill into law in the White House ceremony after President Kennedy was assassinated.
But that had nothing to do with it. It
Okay,
didn't
now
have nothing
what?
to do with that.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What was the
Because he
general?
wasn't he
No,
vice
what?
president?
No, what was the overall atmosphere of the country when you're talking about Kate? What was the political atmosphere of America when
Well,
you're
I mean,
talking?
they were in a civil rights movement, and President
No,
Kennedy.
I'm asking you what was the overall atmosphere of America when that happened
When Kennedy
as a
got
result of John
assassinated,
F. Kennedy getting killed.
Yeah.
they were in the
No,
civil
as a
rights.
result of
I
as a
just
result of John F. Kennedy getting killed.
they were
What
in
was the
they were in
overall?
I just
You know,
said they were in the civil rights
but
movement.
you was right about that too, Katie. But what I was saying to you was that's the reason why he got killed.
Yeah, okay. I agree. That's why Martin Luther King got killed too.
No, that's why John F. Kennedy got killed.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
That's why he got killed because he was he was in for
right.
that, and they was like, no, we ain't having that. So
Now, who
you
was the president that sent the troops into Mississippi to integrate the schools and to
That was
Little Rock?
that was
Huh?
that wasn't him. Hold on, let's
Yes,
see.
it was. He was the one that sent the troops into Mississippi to integrate the University of Mississippi
right with
with James Meredith.
the eight.
Yeah, with James Meredith. And so they hated him because he took that posture on integration. Because those schools were never supposed to be integrated. The governor, George Wallace of Georgia, stood in the door of Alabama, the big school that you see all these kids playing for now, and said, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever in Alabama. We ain't integrating shit over here. And so we are not going back. When we don't go back and know these things are happening, then our people then figure that they are like progressive when they get up and join up with all these people.
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
And I can give you one better.
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Look at the game. Look at the college game with the young ladies yesterday. That showed you nothing changed. That showed you right there that nothing changed. The game yesterday proves racism is still alive and well today, as you were stating, Katie Lowe, because when Iowa was beating up on the black teens and she was doing all this, you can't see me. She told the girl, shut up, y'all down 15. But then yesterday, when they got their ass kicked, they're getting their ass kicked by LSU. And then the young lady, Angela Reese, did it back to her and told her, I'm going to get my ring. Now, that's out of character. That's wrong. But then nobody said nothing to Caitlin when she was doing it all through the tournament. She was scoring and breaking all kind of stuff, but it just goes to show you, as you were standing in the beginning, Katie, nothing has changed. The racism is here, and it's good.
That's what I wanted to hear you say.
And it's running rapid. It ain't go. It's not going. I ain't confused about that because when I looked at it, I'm a sports fanatic. I'm watching all the games. I'm looking at her score 35, 40 points a game, and she doing like this. And she telling them, shoot, you can't shoot. You can't shoot better than me. And she daring them, and she taunting them, right? Because she knew she was better. But then when the shoe was on the other foot, now our young black sisters had to be of low class because they say you can't see me. And I'm getting the ring. You thought you was getting the ring because they wanted the great white hope. That's what that tournament was about, the great white hope. And when David and Goliath, David and Goliath, because South Carolina was stacked, and I would beat them, and that was the David conquering Goliath, and they thought that I was gonna win, but LSU came back and won, and now they made a big thing about it. And the young lady said it so characteristically. She said, I want the people that look like me to understand that we are who we are. And I'm unapologetically, I ain't changing nothing. I don't care what they say about me. And she stood on it. And then even today, we had all the big commentators stand on it.
If I may add something here, the
Okay.
biggest problem that's going on right now, Katie, is the white people created the problem anyway. They the one brought us over here, and they the one tried to
Exactly,
track.
Jasmine.
They the one that tried to turn the slave trade into a commercial selling individual trade. And so the government in Washington, so to speak, they had slaves in the North too. But anyway, when it comes down to them creating a problem, if down south, Senator and Eastland, for instance, who were in Congress forever until they got too damn old to go back up there. But they had plantations, even in the time when the most recent times, and then they still operating. And they're the ones that want to keep the system in Mississippi to the point where people don't get educated so they can go work for them. And that hasn't changed. That's all I'm saying. That pervasive attitude has not changed. Dr. King knew that was a unsurmountable giant that he had to make sure that we overcame. We couldn't do it by force because they were waiting on us to do something to give them a reason to kill even more of us in mass. Because they had the weapons and we had the manpower. When they had plantations with 400 or 500 people on them, and most of them were black, and then you wind up saying the Emancipation Proclamation gave all those people a freedom and possibly the right to vote. Who was going to get elected? Mostly black people in the southern states where the slavery was pervasive. And so they had to fight out of that to keep they knew inevitably they could
Well, they had to keep them from voting because do you know that there were one time more slaves than there were them?
That's what I just
And
said.
that's how it is today with the
That's
return
right.
of citizens.
And that's how it is right now.
Today.
That's why they got gerrymandering and all this stuff that's going on
But
right now.
it's more returning citizens today than it is anybody on the face of this planet. And if we just stuck together and we got behind anybody we got behind in unity, we will win time and time again. But the divide and conquer gang is real. The Willie Lynch syndrome is real. The crab in the barrel reverse psychology is real. And so these are things we're having, Katie Lowe. And that's why tomorrow, if they don't get out and vote,
Yes.
Paul Vallis is going to be your next mayor of Chicago.
Sure.
And that's just the bottom
that
line.
is-
Then we
that
talk
is
about the
what-
youth. Now, let me say this. While we doing that, at the same time, we have the ability of our limbs to go out and vote. While we study talking about what people not going to do and ain't nothing going to change, well, you damn right it ain't going to change. If you sit on your SS, it definitely ain't going to change. And what I was saying earlier, I'll say it again, I stand by it. You know what the Democrats ain't going to do, but you don't know what the Republicans is up to.
I know some of the things they ain't gonna do because
they up to some real
but
stuff.
Listen, I tell you what, they're not ashamed to tell you what they ain't gonna do.
No,
and
but
they are right and passing laws to show you what they're not gonna stand.
No, let me ask you something. Out of the three of us right now into this discussion. And
now we got some other people that's listening in this screen that's in this discussion.
No, but I'm asking
Jasmine Smith, you might as well get ready. Hold on, because it's gonna be a part 2 next Monday. Because there's no way in the world we're gonna get through with this today. So Jasmine Smith, you might as well send me your tell Raymond to send me your email address because since you have so much to say in the comments, you might as well be in the screen with us next week. Come on, y'all.
That's good. But
go ahead, John.
Okay, I had a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, out of the three of us on here right now, it's very difficult to us to come together on one accord when we have the same purpose for being on. It's just three of us on the screen here right now. Think about if you change that 3 to 3,000 and that 3,000 to 3,000,000, how many different opinions you're going to have. And so when it comes down to whether people back off of their opinions and then put them aside, the differences aside, and come together, that's what we got to be trying to work on trying to do. And so far, everybody wants to stick to their guns, though, because we all want to be experts. We all want to be school teachers. We all want to be administrators. We all want to be specialists. We all want to be everybody. Everybody's everybody. And so, so the people who sit back and watch it happen, who know really what's going on, we have to just shake our heads and sit back because we don't want to be in the fray and argument in the first place.
Well, listen, you know the name of the show is Opinions, and you know opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one, so
yeah.
You know what? We're not all going to agree, okay? Because we're just giving our opinions how we feel about things, okay?
Okay, that's
what it's all about.
The only thing I just did was use hyperbole. And look that up, please, for me, because somewhere along the line we missing it. You don't understand that that's what I'm trying to do for example, because I ain't got a dog in the hunt. Hell, I'm retired, sitting at home, disabled, ain't finna give a damn about nothing they do. Really, if you leave me alone, I can go back on.
I'm gonna tell you.
No, I'm gonna die in peace. I am. I ain't gonna have no problem.
I do care. I do care about what they do.
Okay, I can get out and impose what I know to help our people if they listen. And if they don't listen, I can back off and let them do what they want to do, and they can run in the ditches and whatever. I ain't gonna come pull them out.
Well, I care about this. I ain't gonna tell you that I don't care about what they do.
Well, I'm sure all of us got held the bank accounts on this show.
I care about what they do because they might do something that'll affect me, and I'm retired. Okay, I don't want them to mess with nothing I'm getting. Anything that I'm getting, I do not want them to mess with it. I don't want them to pass no laws to mess with nothing. I'm an old lady and I want everything this old hag is supposed to get. Okay? And if they start changing laws and changing bills, I don't know. I might go steal me an airplane and fly to Washington. And I ain't never took a flying lesson in my life, but I go get that. And that's just about.
Very disappointing.
Listen, I am so glad that everybody tuned in. I'm so glad that everybody tuned in. The name of this show is Opinion. Of course, my name is Katie Lowe, and this is Rhythm Flow Radio live stream. You've been listening to Opinions with that author activist Raymond Richardson, none other than Professor Don Kincaide. This is the best show at 7 o'clock. We will see you back here next Friday at 7 o'clock where we can continue this discussion, and then we'll know who the mayor of Chicago gonna be.
By that time next Monday.
By that time. And then we still gonna talk about Johnathan Majors. Okay? We gotta talk about the young man, okay?
Oh, of course. We
gotta talk about it's just another Michael Irvin situation. Okay?
Could be.
So listen, we want you all to have a great rest of the week. And we will see you right here on Meta Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.